Today we're talking about Wes Anderson movie soundtracks, which is to say I just needed an excuse to buy another record player and get some of the most hipster vinyl known to man. Huge Wes Anderson fan. It probably is responsible, like most hipsters, for an incredible amount of my personality. So we're going to go through every Wes Anderson film and choose what I think is the best song, or maybe the song most kind of indicative of the vibe. If you've never seen his movies, you definitely got to check them out. There are for sure different eras, which we're going to talk about. And I am sitting next to a record player with the, look at this. Guys, it doesn't get more hipster than this. This is instant street credibility. Rocking out on an Audio-Technica turntable that Sweetwater sent me. And actually setting this up for the first time, I had a very interesting experience. At precisely 3:17 p.m., Sean began a hipster transformation, placing the needle of side A of the Asteroid City motion picture soundtrack vinyl. By the second rotation, his artisanal pickle subscription box service had automatically upgraded to the pro account status. He then adjusted the room's temperature to 74 degrees, a daily ritual honoring the year that Robert M. Pirsig authored Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. He then adjusted a portrait, painted with single origin coffee, of himself dressed as a mage behind the phrase, "It's wizard time," because, well... Now, donning a seersucker sports blazer he had no recollection of ever buying, he began arranging his Sweetwater candies by nutritional merit, because that seemed like a very hipster thing to do. So we're going to start off with Bottle Rocket. Bottle Rocket is a little bit of the prototype. I feel like it doesn't totally count fully for everything that makes Wes Anderson great. It's definitely a great watch, but it's not fully formed. Now, Mark Mothersbaugh was the composer for this, but I also do want to take a second just to shout out Randall Poster, who is his music supervisor for most of his career. Music supervisor is an interesting term because I've gotten to know a few of them from my time in Los Angeles, and it can mean anything from actually like picking the music for the film to maybe like, you know, the director picks the music and the music supervisor just actually clears it for licensing. So it's really hard for me anyways to separate the impact of Wes Anderson choosing music versus Randall Poster. But anyways, collaborative effort. So I think the first song that we're going to talk about on Bottle Rocket is going to be The Proclaimers' Over and Done With. Okay, so again, not as robust a soundtrack as anything else, but just a great precursor of things to come, especially with the whimsical, kind of lo-fi, minimalist nature of Mark Mothersbaugh's composition. So that's going to bring us right into Rushmore, which is still probably my favorite Wes Anderson movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. I remember the first time I saw Rushmore, I was like, oh, this is everything that I wanted movies and music to be. I feel like the music in Rushmore just totally sets the vibe in such a perfect, phenomenal way. My track that I'm going to choose off this for you guys to listen to, and I'll have links to everything in the description if you want to check them out, is Here Comes My Baby by Cat Stevens. I was like somewhat familiar with like the music of Cat Stevens before this, but there are a few songs on that soundtrack that I hadn't heard of that is awesome. I feel like that song in particular just really captures the vibe of that movie, but also there's other Cat Stevens songs on that soundtrack, like The Wind, which is another classic, and probably some other stuff that you've heard of before. But I really think when I think of Wes Anderson, I'm probably always going to think of Rushmore first, and I feel like some of those Cat Stevens songs just fit like an absolute glove. After that, the next film he did was The Royal Tenenbaums, which is probably like my second favorite Wes Anderson movie. This one just like hit me right in the feels. If you've ever watched my channel before, you know, you already probably know what I'm gonna say. There's an Elliott Smith song on this soundtrack, "Needle in the Hay," in a very dark moment in that movie. An otherwise very like bright, kind of light, happy, fun movie. I'm not gonna pick anything besides the Elliott Smith track, guys. Like, "Needle in the Hay" is for sure it. But I do kind of feel like for the purest hipster Wes Anderson fans, Royal Tenenbaums kind of was the peak and the refinement of, I think, everything that kind of eventually became so iconic and inspirational and everything else, okay? Now, if Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums really got me to punch my hipster card, The Life Aquatic is what taught me how to be a contrarian, okay? So The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, I think, is a lot of people's favorite Wes Anderson movie. I didn't like this movie at all. I remember I was like so excited to go see this, and I felt so let down because I think that was probably a function of expectation, the way they marketed that movie. I thought it was really going to be Bill Murray just getting revenge against a shark that killed his friend, which it kind of is about that, but it's really not about that. I probably need to watch this movie again, but I'm one of the few contrarian hipsters that don't really like this movie. However, the music is like fantastic. There's a whole kind of David Bowie Portuguese themed cover element to it. My favorite track on this soundtrack, though, is going to be Gut Feeling by Devo. This is also the last movie that Mark Mothersbaugh scored for Wes, and Mark Mothersbaugh just happened to be in the band Devo. At this point, that band was a little bit before my time, so the only thing I even knew of Devo at the time was Whip It, you know, which is kind of like a meme, essentially. Gut Feeling is like so good. Really sneaky great guitar song, too, so check out the song. Play it on guitar. It's a fun one to play. Life Aquatic is responsible for a lot of things. I do feel like the hipster beanie thing was really maybe not born from that movie, but definitely had a moment that it's still enjoying today. After that, Darjeeling Limited. This movie's trash in my opinion, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. Other than the scoring definitely changed. He switched over to Alexander Desplat for this one. So the music is much different because it's more of like a period piece music, more of a departure from like the kind of whimsical nature of the previous soundtracks. So the soundtrack definitely fits the vibe of the movie. I just didn't really care for the movie that much. So I guess we're gonna pick the Kinks song Powerman for this, but this movie kind of sucks, so we're just gonna skip that. On to Fantastic Mr. Fox. This was interesting. I remember when it came out, I was like, okay, I didn't like Life Aquatic. I didn't like Darjeeling Limited. I guess he's like doing like cartoon kids movies or whatever. Very surprised by how good Fantastic Mr. Fox was. Awesome movie. Obviously it's different because it's, you know, animated or whatever. There's a whole Burl Ives kick, which honestly, I didn't even know who Burl Ives was until I saw his music popping up in Wes Anderson movies. And it's almost kind of cheating, but Street Fighting Man by the Rolling Stones is such a great song that I'm gonna have this be the winner on Fantastic Mr. Fox. But shout out to Burl Ives because you'll see that in some of these movies that there's a thematic thing where maybe they take one artist, whether it's, you know, David Bowie or Ives, whatever, Hank Williams, which is coming up. Really great stuff there. Follow-up to that movie was Moonrise Kingdom. Slept on movie. Very, very underrated. I feel like this wasn't like a huge success when it came out. Moonrise Kingdom is almost like, in some ways it's kind of like the perfect movie for what that kind of trope is, like the coming of age kids doing a thing. I really loved Moonrise Kingdom. I think this was kind of like, in my estimation as the hipster contrarian, a return to form, which is stupid to say that, but from what I remember really falling in love with Wes Anderson movies, Moonrise Kingdom was awesome. And again, I was never super into, I guess, country music. I don't even know if country music is like a way to describe like what's in a lot of his stuff, but Hank Williams was a thematic part of this movie, and Kaw-Liga is going to be the track that I'm going to pick for this because I think it really just embodies everything that was so cool about Moonrise Kingdom. Grand Budapest Hotel. So this was really mostly the compositional work of Alexander Desplat again. So not a lot of contemporary pop songs in this one. So for the exercise of what we're doing, I guess I'll pick Mr. Moustafa as like a standout compositional track of this, but really cool movie. Definitely worth watching. Some very memorable parts to this movie, if you know what I'm saying. Go with that one, but this one doesn't have as many pop songs as like the other ones do. Isle of Dogs, kind of same thing. I'm gonna respectfully put a hipster pass on this. Not that the music is bad by any stretch, but it doesn't really, I mean, if you listen to the soundtrack, you'll understand what I'm talking about, where it doesn't really fit the theme of what we're talking about here. So we're just gonna go right to The French Dispatch, which, again, I thought was a super underrated movie when it came out. I was a huge fan of French Dispatch. I feel like I was the only one who like really thought that this was like a phenomenal movie, but I'm going to pick Aline by Jarvis Cocker, I believe is what it's called. So this was actually composed of just a bunch of different cultural like French songs. Not a single song I've ever remember hearing prior to this movie, but that was probably my favorite one off this track. And that brings us to Asteroid City, which is what I have the vinyl here for. Again, this is a really sick like record player. The cool thing about this is like you can actually just press a button on here, a start button, and then the vinyl will start spinning. And the arm actually automatically comes over and starts the vinyl. So this one actually has Bluetooth also, but you can Bluetooth to external speakers, right? So I actually have this hooked up to my Adams right now with the phono outputs on the back, just because like that's a huge part of the hipster experience, having the speakers next to you, but not necessary. You can actually Bluetooth this to a Bluetooth speaker or headphones or anything else. But Asteroid City, another phenomenal movie that I feel like I don't know, got a lukewarm reception. This is one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies. I was enthralled with the movie from beginning to end. But this one specifically has my favorite Burl Ives song on it, and that is Cowboy's Lament. Just a really fun little 1-4-5 type song. And as you can hear from the opening track and the soundtrack, this is more of the Alexander Desplat score to it. But if you want to, you know, start and stop, you can use these buttons here. You can speed it up with the 45 button here to kind of double the speed, which is why it's kind of cool to, I'm just going to skip ahead. I know. So cool. So just play everything at 2x speed and then just, you know, kind of get those cool little vinyl start and stop moments. And then I've also found using vinyl is really cool for sampling stuff and maybe just outputting it into an interface, and then you can kind of get the warbly type sound off of everything too. But yeah, big fan of Asteroid City, and the music in there definitely has like a super cool vibe. So check out Burl Ives' Cowboy's Lament. I have not seen The Phoenician Scheme yet. I'll probably watch that tonight. You guys let me know what you think about that. Super influential filmmaker, big fan myself. I think that's so cool when you have a director that has a vision and also uses the platform of film to introduce people to music maybe they otherwise would never have heard of. And that's why I'm such a big fan of his, because he'll take some deep cuts for maybe artists you've heard of, but maybe songs that you haven't heard of before. Like I said, huge fan. Thank you to Sweetwater for sending over the Audio-Technica record player. Check out some vinyl, and maybe you too can become an ultimate turbo hipster contrarian just like myself, because it's super fun to do. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section. If you disagree with any of the things that I chose, feel free to flame me in the comments as well, because I love that too. So thanks for watching.